So if we could start the meeting by closing our eyes or turning our gaze inward, whichever way it speaks to you. Sort of temporarily suspension of all activity. And simply notice the stillness, resting as being. Nothing to do, and no need to engage in whatever appears to you, simply noticing and resting in this noticing space, resting as this noticing space, effortless. Sort of allowing your experience to be as it is, whichever way it appears to you, whatever thoughts and sensations and images appear to you. When you are resting as awareness, as presence, your experience is equal to itself. It's neutral, meaning whatever appears to you is impartial. Does not define or determine presence. As presence, there is no one doing anything. There is no activity that is a personal activity. It is not a doing or an achieving. as presence. There isn't a me or a you. It's just the ocean of being. The peace of being. Which is not trying to do anything, trying to improve itself or attain any particular state. You recognize yourself as that peace, as that aware presence, borderless, impersonal, does not belong to anybody, no owner. No borders. Nothing is excluded or pursued. This presence takes on the form of this hearing right now, the breath, the sensation of your feet on the ground. Without ever becoming anything. Like in your night dreams, you take on the form of a butterfly or a nightingale, without ever becoming anything. Like in your night dreams, there are all sorts of activities, conversations, thoughts, perceptions, various colorings of the dreamer's mind. Similarly, this transparent presence, this aware presence that hears these words, without ever becoming anything, takes on the form of world, body, mind, perceptions, sensations, thoughts. Presence does not define itself via the colorings that it takes, like the light, the white light. The light does not define itself via the infinite spectrum of colors that it takes. Notice that your experience always refers to awareness, which we refer to as I in our language. Awareness being the reality of our experience and the one reality. Everything you experience via awareness, consciousness. Everything you know, everything you sense, everything you perceive is awareness taken on this form, the form of a perception, a sensation. I awareness. Oftentimes, we perceive thought referring to I, the body, I, the story, I, an image. And in the absence of discrimination, we believe that thought knows I, that thought knows something about consciousness, about awareness, about the one and only I. In the absence of discrimination, we become subject to the content of thought, the story, the stories, images that appear to us, that appear to consciousness, that appear to I awareness. Notice that sensations appear to you. They do not define you. Nothing which appears to you defines that which perceives. That which appears does not define that which is, which knows and is. Only being defines being. Only awareness defines awareness, which is the experience of peace, love and beauty, freedom, joy. It is from and as the peace of being that the light shines onto the mind, onto the world, onto the body. It is from the peace of being that the mind, balance, and harmony is restored. And the activities of the body mind is harmonious. So we recognize ourselves as this transparent, borderless, aware presence that has no name, no age, no gender, no, yet undeniable. We recognize the reality of consciousness, the true I, and we keep returning to this recognition and to live from and as this recognition, to use this recognition as an inspiration, as a guide, as a path. And the blooming of this understanding ascertains for you the correct way. Well, if you have any questions, anything that you would like to explore or share, please make sure you unmute your mic, and you can also turn on your video. This way we can enjoy seeing each other. Any questions?
Magdi, it's a
Hello, Esther.
hi. The other day you spoke a bit about, and you have many times, about the universality of the body and mind. Would you speak about that again?
So I usually speak about the universality of consciousness, the universality of awareness. But I do also point to a broader body, a broader mind. In that the body is not a closed system. The body, what we refer to as the body, is an interactive system. It's interacting with the entire universe. It's interacting with other bodies. It's interacting with the earth. It's interacting with the atmosphere. It's interacting with the galactic field. So the body is not a closed system. So the model of the body as a closed system is a useful model for certain purposes. But the contemplation that in fact the body is not limited by the concepts that we impose upon it, that the concepts that we impose upon the body or upon anything are just a sort of a conceptual, it's an abstraction, a linguistic model in a way, or a mental model in a way of the reality of the body, which is not just an interactive system, but also in your direct experience, your experience of the body is the experience of consciousness taken on the form of a sensation. Mostly we experience the body as sensation. Of course, we also experience the body as images and thoughts, images of the body and thoughts about the body. And we also experience the body as perception, like when you look at your hand or you look at your foot or you look at the mirror, you also experience the body as a perception. But mostly we experience the body as sensation. When you contemplate sensation, you will find that in fact, sensation is not possible without consciousness, that in fact it is consciousness, awareness that makes the sensation possible. And when you look a little closer at the relationship between consciousness or awareness or knowingness, relationship between consciousness and the sensation, you will find that they're not two. That in fact there isn't an object out there called the body and a consciousness in here called I, and that they are dancing a pas de deux. In fact, that's not the case. You will find that sensation and the knowingness of the sensation, otherwise the awareness, are not two. That applies equally to images you have about the body or perceptions you have about the body. So irrespective whether you're defining the body as sensation, perception, or thought, the reality of those experiences is awareness. So in fact, the body, one could say, is its reality is awareness. So it is awareness that's taking on the form of a body right now. Whichever way you're experiencing the body right now, it is an experience of awareness. And so we can come to the understanding, which may require some contemplation, that in fact, the reality of the body is consciousness. And consciousness is that which is and knows. In other words, it's Sat Chit. In the Sat Chit Ananda is to Sat, which is presence, and Chit, knowingness, awareness. So consciousness is Sat Chit, and Sat Chit is impersonal. In other words, there is no body above consciousness that owns it, like you own your car or your house or your bank account. It is the absolute dimension of the pyramid. So it is the top of the pyramid. And the contemplation of consciousness will reveal to you that in fact consciousness is infinite, meaning it has no beginning and ending. It does not begin in the winter and ends in the fall. It does not begin in Amsterdam and ends in Kathmandu. Not only it is infinite, but it's also eternal, meaning it is not in time. It's not that there is consciousness between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., or more consciousness between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., and a little less consciousness between 4 a.m. and noon, etc. It's independent of the impression of time. So consciousness is eternal and infinite. So I went around it, maybe the roundabout way, in that when we contemplate the body, we're actually the reality of the body and our true experience of the body, not our conceptualization of the body, because the concept of body is not the body. Concept of the body is a concept of a body. An image of the body is an image of a body, it's not the body. And similarly, Esther, in terms of mind, by mind, the conventional way we talk about mind is thinking, the process of thinking, of thought. So the body-mind, when you come to mind, the realm of thought is the reality of thought is similarly to the perception is or sensation is the reality of consciousness. There is no thought outside of consciousness. Once you comprehend what I was sharing with you about the body as sensation, it's easy to comprehend the reality of thought to be consciousness, consciousness being universal and infinite. So the impression that the body is limited and is dense and made out of flesh and bone goes hand in hand with the belief that there is a physical reality. There is no physical or mental reality that stands on its own, that stands apart from the reality of consciousness. But in ignorance meaning in our misunderstanding about our true nature, we believe and feel that there is a mind reality, a body world reality, and the consciousness reality. Actually, mostly we overlook the consciousness reality. More conventionally, we stick with the mind reality and world and body reality. But in our contemplations, it's easy enough to come to understand that that's a false model, that a model that overlooks the reality of consciousness, and a model that does not understand that there is one reality is the wrong model. So it is important to come to the understanding about the reality of consciousness, and that the world, meaning perception, the body, mostly meaning sensation, and the mind, meaning mostly thought, their reality is consciousness. They are real as consciousness. They do not define consciousness, meaning a perception which is known by consciousness, or a sensation which is known by consciousness, or a feeling or perception that's known by consciousness, do not define consciousness. It is consciousness which defines the world, body, mind. Like in your night dreams, it is you, the dreamer, that defines the unicorn and that defines the pink flying elephants that appear to you. So the belief that I am a separate consciousness, that I am Esther, that I am a man or a woman, that I am this body, mind, this spirit, I'm born, I exist in time and space, is unsubstantiated by any evidence. It is a belief that populates our thinking and our feeling state. And so the inquiry into on what basis do we accept, or have we adopted this model that I am a body mind, that inquiry is very, very important.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, hello, Mike, yes.
Okay, so granted, let's say we have internalized what you've said and we're able to navigate through the material world, keeping in mind or being able to feel or experience a perspective of consciousness experiencing materiality. I feel like I'm able to reconcile that in my life, in my daily life. Okay, I can still function and in a material world, and yet at the same time, I still feel a sense of spirituality. But what I find challenging and what I'd like to ask about is the idea of creating meaning for things. So I can reconcile materiality with everything being in consciousness, but what I struggle with is the idea of doing things that are meaningful or having a meaningful life, or if I'm drawing something or painting, wanting that to be somehow meaningful, or even my car, my old 1970 Land Rover, I keep it not because it's practical in any sense, but because it has some meaning for me. I give it a specialness, a meaning. And we do this with relationships too, but that's more difficult to talk about. But I think we could start with helping me see why do we create meaning in things? I want to do everything meaningfully or with some significance, whether it's the food I eat, the choices I make, the places I go, the kind of entertainment I seek. There's a thing called meaning, which I'm preoccupied with understanding. Is it even important? If you see everything from sort of a universal consciousness perspective, what's the point? That's my question, if it's
Yes.
clear.
Yes. So one could say that two things. First, that there are, let's say, levels of meaning. There is the relative meaning, meaning the meaning what the mind ascertains to be meaningful at a certain point in time and space. And there is meaning that is not ascertained by the mind, that is irrespective of time and space. Can talk about that in a minute. Also, which is basically maybe saying the same thing in a different way, there is a meaning that serves the person, serves me, and there is a meaning that serves God, which means could be saying the same thing in a different way. Now, from the relative perspective, because of the freedom of consciousness, we are free to ascertain meaning to whatever we want, whenever we want, whichever way we want. We have the freedom of the self, the freedom of consciousness. And so in that regard, it is the exercise of your freedom to pick and choose and to engage in whatever manner you like, in whatever activities you like, or not. You may ascertain meaning or no meaning.
So that's the meaning that serves me that you're referring to. Correct?
That's the meaning that is available to you to play with in whichever way you choose, in moment by moment in your life.
Okay.
Now there is a meaning that is that the word subordinates that trumps. I always hesitate to say that word, but that is at the higher level, a higher dimension,
Right.
that is irrespective of your local condition, that applies across all minds. For example, which are aspects of consciousness, the meaning of freedom, of love, of beauty, of happiness, of wisdom, of joy, of empathy, of compassion. There are, let's say, universal meanings that we all the human beings, given the chance to look at this question about happiness, what is our evaluation, or what meaning do we give to happiness, to joy, to freedom, to beauty, to love, we will all find that, yes, this is, we're all on board with that. So when the higher meanings, let me use in religious language, when the meaning of God, when God's meaning is somehow also alive in you, it sort of touches your personal, the personal meanings in your life. It affects the choices you make, the meanings you attribute to various activities, thoughts, relationships, etc.
You could call it alignment.
Alignment. Yes, thank you. Yes. So when there is an alignment between the universal meaning and the personal meaning, there is a harmony, and the happiness right. of the universal meaning comes into your life, and there are individual meanings that you're attributing that are joyful, celebratory, contemplative, and you will find that they also touch in because of the experience of the happiness and the beauty and the joy in how you are playing. It touches it. Others, you will find that others would like to play with you in general.
Yeah, well, that's helpful. I mean, it's very helpful to see it that way. Now I can sort of make choices when I question the meaning of this, that, my car, whatever. I can sort of question it from the sense of how much in alignment is this?
Yes.
With some of these universal.
Yes. So there is like the greater good in terms of, love, beauty, happiness is never personal. You cannot be happy alone. Happiness is. So there is the greater good, or the recognition of everybody and everything to be your very self, to be God's being, to be your being, one being, and you still will have all sorts of personal meanings, but there will be a certain perfume, a certain quality to them.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Magdi,
No,
but if I can see that I am not the doer, does then not meaning drop away and just gets replaced by peace?
Yes, seeing that you are not a doer is, of course, it's a great wisdom, because in fact it's seeing the illusion that everything that you're doing is being sort of done through you. You don't choose your thoughts, so therefore you don't choose your actions. It's sort of, it comes to you from beyond, and you don't choose the daylight, and you don't choose the breath. It's all So yes, that's a very important understanding. But there is still the joy of creativity, the play, the celebration. Like here we are. This is meaningful to us. Here we are. There is no personal self. In fact, there is no personal self. But yet here we are celebrating the friendship, the company of lovely friends, and also the contemplation of consciousness. We have a shared love, a shared interest. So yes, the deep understanding and the realization there is no personal doer is very, very important for that invites the wisdom of consciousness into your life. But then there is still your life, there's still all sorts of things, interests you have, whatever, music and art, in cooking, inviting people, giving meaning to what's the meaning of cooking a meal. Inviting friends over for a meal. Really, it's the meaning is celebration, is happiness, is love and beauty and expression of friendship and the celebration of our wholeness. So there is a living aspect to our understanding. Of course, understanding is very important, but it's also it definitely lives itself, because this waking dream is ongoing right now, and so there is God's light that shines onto this dream and sweetens it.
It's beautiful and precious to be here, and but there still then comes up this idea, I have to get somewhere.
Yes.
Very subtle. I mean, for the last few days, the last few satsang, it was so amazing. Like I was so, I don't know the words for it. It was just everything. There was so much synchronicity and beauty and joy in it. And then suddenly sneaks in again the idea, yeah, but, from the mind.
Yes.
Yeah, but I see this too, and I can relax in it. I don't need to follow it, but it's just still there. It's just still lingering.
Yeah. It's what we do or how we receive this arising that, like, I need to get somewhere, for example, how we receive that, because it's an arising, it's neutral, really. I mean, it's like a thought and a sensation. It's neutral. The meaning we may give it, like Mike was talking about, we may give it a meaning that, oh yeah, it's really, that's significant. I need to get somewhere. Or we don't. So it's how we receive it. We can receive whatever arises as we receive the sun shining through the window. Of course, it is different here because it is not just the sun shining through the window, it's a thought and it's a sensation, maybe in your belly or your chest. But similarly, if you contemplate the neutrality of the sun shining through the window and invite yourself to notice also the neutrality of a thought arising and the neutrality of a sensation arising, as long as you do not engage in wanting the sun to shine brighter or engage into wanting the thought to not arise or wanting the sensation to arise differently. As soon as you engage, meaning as soon as you receive the guest with your conditions, you will notice the impact of those conditions. So there is a receiving where there are no doors and no windows. It's an open space. There isn't a guard. There isn't a guard at the door that is checking. It's an open space, and this open space it comes from the understanding of what I is, what the reality of consciousness is. The reality of consciousness is I, and it's this borderless presence. There are no doors or gates. So this understanding will deepen in you, will take more and more root in you, and the joy that you would experience from this understanding it would be like tasting the fruit, that is like a ripe mango. You taste it, and now you know its taste, and you are falling in love with the mango. Whales, almost. So it validates, the understanding about consciousness and the experience of I as this presence. And okay, the body is called Magdi, who cares? But this presence that has no name, that is so real, it's completely real. The understanding of that and the sense of that carries with it the perfume. And it's the perfume that slowly pervades your being. And so while there may be some thoughts like you just mentioned about, I want to get somewhere, and maybe a little irritation, over time it will arise less and less frequently and for a shorter and shorter duration.
Thank you for making the presence so tangible. Funny way to say it.
Hello, Magdi.
George, hello, George.
Hi there.
Hey.
I wanted to ask some more about wanting. One of the things that I want, and really want badly, is awakening.
That's a good wanting.
Well, no, but I understand that. But is that a good wanting, or is that merely the separate self seeking more happiness, seeking self-improvement, seeking perfection?
George,
You see, my question is,
there is no separate self, George.
well, I know there's no separate self, but let me say it again then. Is that not just the ego?
What do you mean by ego? What do you mean by ego? Okay.
Okay.
So,
all right. But let me reword it.
Okay.
This wanting is not the goal of this wanting is happiness, peace. And my question is that wanting itself a barrier in the sense that it is like any other wanting,
no, it's
and
not
a barrier to recognizing the truth, the truth of the universal consciousness?
Yes. So consider that there is an unfiltered desire, and there is a filtered desire. The desire for truth, the desire for happiness, the desire for love comes from truth, comes from happiness, comes from love. It is impersonal. So the desire for happiness, we all 7-8 billion of us, when we ask, what is it that deep down you really love, you desire, you want, is happiness. Happiness for myself, happiness for my family, happiness for the world, happiness for society, happiness, period, whichever way we define it. So there is a desire that comes to you from God, from beyond. So it's God's desire through you. Like the parable of the the prodigal son.
Prodigal son, yes.
The father desiring his son to return home. So the son's desire to find the father is the father's desire to find the son, as a way of speaking, Now there are some desires that are filtered. They're filtered via the belief that I am a person, that I am George, that I am a mortal body, man, that I'm a separate consciousness. So that's where the word maybe egoic, maybe that's when you can use the word egoic desire, in that the desire is filtered via the belief. There is no ego, it's just a belief that there is somebody that, and this somebody I am somebody, but that overlooks that I, in fact, is not somebody. I is everything, nothing. I is consciousness. I is the totality of being, the reality of being, the wholeness of being, the peace of being, the joy of being. I is eternity of being. So when there is that filter of, which many of us, understand really well, that of I, George, I, Magdi, I, me, my personal happiness. In fact, happiness is not personal. But when there is that filter, yes, then one could say that the desire is a personal desire. But Judge, that all personal desires, although they are personal, they also are impersonal. They are impersonal in that they're seeking, the desire is seeking its ending. The desire is seeking its ending. So like you want to have a raise, okay? So you're desiring the raise. You're doing all sorts of activities, you're writing good reports, whatever, coming to all the meetings, etc. Until what? Until you get that raise, and then at that moment, desire is ended. So desire, even so-called personal desire, is seeking its ending. And the ending of desire is impersonal being, is what we call happiness. Ending of desire, absence of desire, is happiness. So the desire for God, the desire for truth is not our personal desire. It's a desire that's in spite of us. In spite of us? Is that the right?
Yes, that's right.
In spite of us. It's in spite of us. And when we recognize that, it is God's desire through myself, it's a nice understanding, because you cease to battle with it. Like your question, you're battling with it. No, give yourself completely to desire for peace and happiness, because peace and happiness is not personal.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the distinction between the desire for a raise, I want to get this raise because if I get this raise in the future, I'll be happy.
Yes.
So there's one type of desire. Now, the other type of desire, well, I want to discover the truth of who I am, because after I discover that, I'll be happy. And what I'm saying is that it seems that those two desires are similar,
yes.
You see?
But one is phenomenal, the other is nominal. In other words, one desire, the desire is for a personal experience or a feat or relationship or a raise, or it's phenomenal. While the desire for knowing our true nature, or the desire for the revelation of truth, is not a phenomenal desire. It's not a desire for an experience. And initially, there is a confusion between desire for truth and desire for experience, because we all had experiences, all of us here, of truth. And when we have an experience of truth, oftentimes the mind says, well, that was an experience. And so we start to, we confuse now the desire for God, the desire for happiness, to recapture or to have that experience again. But soon enough, we realize that that is how the mind objectifies that which is not objective. The mind objectifies consciousness. It creates an image of consciousness. It creates a concept and some sort of experiences. It's an experience of consciousness, as if the mind, meaning thought, knows that which knows it. In fact, thought cannot know that which knows it. But we fall into that illusion. It's the illusion, the magician's illusion. You know, we should go like that, and finally there is a rabbit coming out of the hat. It's like that. The mind plays an illusion and then tells you, oh, yes, I need to follow what thought says. It's an experience. I need to seek that experience. That's the illusion of thought. But we remind ourselves over and over that thought cannot know you. Thought does not know that which knows it. A sensation, a feeling, an experience does not know. In fact, knowingness only belongs to consciousness. And consciousness is not phenomenal, it is noumenal. So it may feel the same initially, it may seem to be the same. There is an assumption that there is somebody who is desiring.
Yes.
In fact, there is nobody desiring. There is just a thought that appears to you, or something is appearing to you. There isn't a somebody. The somebody appears to you as a thought, for example. The thought that says, I am somebody. So the somebody is an appearance that appears to you. But that which you are, that which perceives, is not somebody. There's no word for it. Well, I mean, we use the word consciousness, but that's just because of the language. There is no word for reality. And it doesn't need a word, but in language here, because we are in the dream, we use a language.
Yeah, and I guess this also relates to the notion of doer. That is the mistaken view that I, George, am the doer, and there's something I can do now to,
Yes.
to experience consciousness, okay?
Yes.
And I guess what I'm saying is that I know from hearing you that this is illusory and these are just thoughts, but they seem real. And anyhow, that's just my problem.
There is, of course, there is hearing me, but more important than hearing me is your own understanding. So the understanding is more important than hearing me. The understanding is that a doer, my experience of a doer, I have an experience of a doer, let's say, okay? So let's say I have an experience of a doer right now. What is my experience of the doer? How does it appear to me? In my experience, the doer appears to me as a belief, as a thought, or as a feeling. Do you agree with me, or?
Yeah, yes, I agree with you.
So the doer appears to me as a thought, or as an image, or as a feeling. I feel like the doer. But so there are two things. There is the feeling that's appearing to me, and there is that which perceives the feeling. Now the feeling says you are a doer, but the feeling is, quotes unquote, an object that I'm perceiving, right?
Right.
The object that I perceive doesn't know anything about that which perceives it, right?
Right.
So I don't care what the thought is saying, what the feeling is saying.
Yes, no, I get it now, yes.
So therefore, it's not,
yes.
Yeah, so
In fact, there is no doer. Okay.
yeah, I come to the understanding, aha, there is an impression of a doer within
Exactly.
within an appearance.
Yes, yes.
That's
So
right.
what I was concerned about, I see it now, thank you. What I was concerned about is the impression of the doer and the impression of the doer having this wanting. But now I see, in fact, there is no doer.
Yeah, but you see, an impression or a sensation does not desire. A thought does not desire another thought. A thought does not know a thought. A sensation does not know a sensation. A sensation does not know a thought.
Right.
You see, and something that appears doesn't know anything. It is known. It is known because I perceive it, but it doesn't know anything. So the impression of a doer that is now engaged in an activity of desiring, it's as if that impression has a will or a knowingness to it. But you see what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I see what you mean now. Thank you. Yes, I get it now. Thank you.
Wow, that was great. That was great. Beautiful.
So the thing about understanding is that's crucial. In understanding, we don't need to remember understanding, but when there is understanding is not it beyond the mind. It's at the level of consciousness. It rearranges. It has an effect. This is why, in a way, one could say that the revelation of our true nature, or the comprehension of our true nature, comes via understanding, the understanding that dissolves the falsehood. And as the falsehood, which are structures of thoughts and feelings, is seen through their power, their maintenance, their level of maintaining themselves weakens. And the peace of being is already there. It's not like, oh, wow, I'm discovering, I have great discovery, I discovered the peace of being. No, I mean, it's not like, wow, I discovered God. God is. So it is the veils, the veils that they thin out via the falsehood dissolving. And then you find that the peace of being is there, you know. I mean, yes, there are moments when you go, aha, but over time, you are peaceful and happy, and it's not a big deal. It's like, yes, okay, yes, of course. I mean, yes.
Magdi?
Yes, yes, Esther.
So the mind does not know me. The mind cannot know me. So it's only the perfume of understanding that makes it shut up or stop trying to drive the bus, so to speak.
Yes, and also understanding heals the mind.
So the mind doesn't have a part in that. It pretty much is.
The mind has a part in that. It can be a docile. It can be well. It will be. It's often rebellious, but eventually it can become a docile participant, because right now we are using the mind. I mean, as soon as we speak or we are exploring and contemplating, we are using the mind. But that which is using the mind is consciousness.
But at what point does the mind, it can't know me, so how does it know? Or just
it doesn't know. The mind does not know, but the mind becomes clear. There is wisdom that comes to the mind. There is a capacity to discern the faults from, discern the faults, to perceive the faults. And that's a capacity, at the level of the mind. And now, again, the mind, like the body, is a tool in the hands of consciousness. So the body, for example, can perform acts that are very sweet and gentle and helpful, or can perform activities that are hurtful and damaging to the planet, to each other, etc. It's a tool in the hands of consciousness. And when there is an understanding about consciousness, the tools, the instrument, which is body, mind, and the world, become at the service, let's say, of consciousness, more alignment. I think when I was in the alignment with consciousness.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. But keep in mind that there is no mind. It's just a way of speaking.
All right. Right.
That there is no mind. That's a good one.
Thank you.
So Magdi, John.
Hey, hello, John.
Hi. So maybe you can speak about this a little bit. So the idea of, say, wants and meanings and so forth and so on, maybe you could speak a little bit, and you already have in some sense, but maybe you can speak about some of the suffering that comes along with those as well. And because, I mean, I know that I've heard people share things about, of course, we want things, and the wants, I think George was sharing this too, is you get them. And then, of course, we all know that if it's on the phenomenal level, it's you get them, and then you want another want, and that's supposed to be, we're not always, it's not the happiness, it's not the true happiness. It may be a taste of it in some sense, but there will always be a wanting. And maybe even with meaning too, because I think if I relate it to, I want meaning in my life, or I have to have this, I have to do this, or I have to do that to have meaning. It doesn't mean let's say I want to write poetry, and I go, that's my heart's desire, and that's quite different, maybe in a way, than meaning. But I guess what I'm saying is sometimes I hear this from teachers, sometimes too, is that, and from you, is the idea that all these things, if they don't come true, okay, is not going to make me unhappy. Or if I don't get this meaning in life, or if I don't get this want in life, then that's it. I'm feeling terrible. So the natural desire, I'm going to call it a natural desire, or God's desire, or the absolute's desire, is there. But I like the idea. It's been helpful for me to know that it also, there's a caveat there where it doesn't have to be either. And the wanting it to be and having to be, or even others having should have the same wants or meanings, will go towards unhappiness. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Well, John, it depends whose desire it is. When a desire is personal, when it's coming from the belief that I am a personal entity, a separate consciousness living in the world. I am an event in time and space existing in the world. When a desire is personal, then my well-being, my happiness is depending on the desire, on the fulfillment of the desire. And so there is unhappiness right there, right from the onset. When my happiness depends on or is conditioned upon something, already that's unhappiness. You follow? So,
Oh yeah, that's what I was speaking of. But yes, I agree.
Right from the onset, when a personal desire is rooted in the belief of separation, in separate realities, and therefore is unhappy. So there is a pursuit in order to. And when that pursuit ends, at that moment of the ending of the pursuit, there is a sliver of happiness, and then the process of pursuit goes on again. Why? Because the sense of separation hasn't been dealt with. It's still there. Now, a desire that comes through you, like you feel like you wanna learn to play the violin, you don't know why. It's just you sort of, you are drawn to it, and it comes through you. But your happiness doesn't depend on that. There is joy for you in playing the violin. At any point in time where learning how to play the violin becomes a condition for your happiness, and not just a love that you're expressing that is living itself through you. At that moment, there is a shift in the impersonal desire becoming personal, being appropriated by, I've got to become good in order to, whatever, impress people or please my parents or make a lot of money, and if I don't make it, I'm going to be miserable. So there is an internal attention that we can okay, Paula. There is an internal attention to be applied to determine whether our happiness is at stake. There is something at stake. A good test of an impersonal desire is that its fulfillment or its lack of fulfillment is not consequential. In other words, if you're desiring to learn the piano or the violin and you end up becoming a scuba diver teacher, learning how to scuba dive, it's fine. All is well. Mm-hmm. So there is a celebratory aspect to an impersonal desire. You wanna play, but hey, you wanted to play. You went to play, and the playground was closed. So instead, you went for a walk in the park, or you played chess with somebody, whatever. All right, it's a celebration. It's a play. It's not. There is nothing at stake.
Mm.
As soon as there is something at stake, our happiness now is conditional. And no one is forcing us to do that. It's an internal process that requires our acquiescence. And we have the capacity to discern that, to comprehend that, to see through that. it may take a few iterations, which is fine. Because the habits of projecting our happiness upon the world, body, mind, we've done that for many years. So it's, it's like driving home, you become habitual, you drive home. Sometimes you're going somewhere else, but by habit you end up driving home. You say, oh, gee, I was going to visit my friend Joey, and here I am at home. There are habits, but in time, they will, order will be restored, because consciousness is infinite potential, infinite potential. And when you turn your attention to consciousness, you're turning your attention to the infinite, invisible potential of truth, of God, of reality, of Atman.
Yeah, the internal attention, attention, you just really, I mean, you have attention towards consciousness, or the contemplation that sees that thought does not know me, and that I am not the body type of stuff, and all that kind of jazz. There's that kind of stuff, but also the internal attention. What you're speaking of here too is maybe with, say, wants and desires.
Yes.
Is simply just what you said was, I would be able to detect, okay, that if there's something, simply when I begin to have feelings, or which is called the person, I begin to have feelings or thoughts that if I don't get it, or if I'll be, well, I guess one could be unhappy, but it's somehow that that also is not personal. That happens, like playing, let's say playing the violin. Let's do that one. Playing the violin. So, as you said, if I don't get it, but if I see that I'm playing the violin, and now I'm very upset because I say, I'll never get this, and I'll never have this, and this will be and there'll be a lot of suffering, and you could be sad, I suppose, but there'll be suffering in this, and that's bringing up a personal self. It's like I can't do it. This is what I wanted to do in my life, and now that I can't do it, what's it worth, and so forth and so on. Yes.
Yeah, there can be a lot of frustration and difficulties in learning the violin. There may be time where, like, okay, I'm just, but overall, you're not playing the violin because you personally want something. You're playing the violin because you love it, because you want it, but you don't know why. It's happy.
I have a guitar. And I just play it for myself. So I don't, there's no demands by others or on myself to get anywhere even with it. So it's just done out of joy for me.
Yeah.
In that sense, the sound and.
Yes, I understand. I was talking specifically about, having desire to become an accomplished violinist.
Yes.
That also can be impersonal, to sort of learn from the masters and keep improving your techniques, your sound.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes.
So there is a difference between difficulties with the body, mind, and unhappiness. It can be difficult for the body, mind to learn the violin, especially when you're working with an accomplished master who's who doesn't forgive any bad note. It can be very testing and challenging and sometimes frustrating, but it's different from unhappiness.
So Magdi, is it then, does that the saying come up there that you can say can be very challenging and difficult and frustrating, but then somebody could say, but it's not personal.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Right. You could say it's not personal, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's not.
Yeah,
personal.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the body mind is not personal. I mean,
Yeah.
if you take the body and you don't feed it for I don't know how many hours or days, it's gonna impersonally gonna tell you feed me. It's going to I don't know all sorts of things will you follow. It is impersonal. Yes.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah. This is good to have you say that. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Because I think sometimes um, it's very easy to say, I'm unhappy because I'm frustrated, or I'm unhappy because, this and that and all that.
No,
But
no.
there's a difference. There's a distinction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Amna.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I have a question first, just following the conversation you were having with John. Like you said, like a violinist wanting to be, I don't remember the exact word, but like the way it translates in, yeah.
Yes.
How is that impersonal?
It is impersonal when your happiness doesn't depend on it, meaning the inspiration to become an accomplished violinist is arising out of love. It's arising out of out of love.
Okay.
And out of
I didn't consider that a possibility.
Yes.
Where you want something that seems very personal, but then it's like impersonal.
No, when a desire is arising out of nothing at stake, it's arising out of an interest, an exploration. It's just to explore. I mean, just to explore. One like to explore. Like you go for a walk in the park. You're not going for any purpose. You just, the thought arises to you. Wow, it's a beautiful day. Let me go for a walk in the park, and so you go for a walk in the park. There is nothing at stake, and it's arising out of an interest, and in some cases out of love. You may find that it's really speaking to you. To somehow you want to paint. I mean, I don't know. You'd like to paint. You'd like to play with paint. You'd like to learn about different techniques, and so the way you know that a desire is impersonal, in that although, as I was talking with John, there may be moments of frustration or difficulties or a lot of hard work, you are not experiencing unhappiness. You are not experiencing that something is happening to you.
So my other question, when you were talking about desire, at one point you said that desire is seeking that its ending.
Yes.
And then you said that like a thought or a sensation can't know another thought or another sensation.
Right.
So these two things don't seem like they seem to be
Right.
opposites.
I understand your question, yes. Now, when I say desire is seeking its ending, it's a way of speaking. It's just a desire doesn't seek anything. Seeking is the impression that there is a subject and an object. So in fact, even the word seeking is just language that refers to the belief that there is a separate subject and separate objects. So when I say a desire is seeking its ending, it's just a way of speaking, a way of using language. It's not specifically saying that a desire desires or seeks, because in fact, a desire in itself is just founded on a belief that there is a separate subject and a separate object. But given that we are using language, and we're using language like we're using paint to paint a certain image. When I say a desire is seeking its own ending, what I'm pointing to is that, in fact, a desire,
Like, it's not about what it's like. If I'm wanting French fries, it's not about the fries. It's about, like, when I get the fries,
it's about
like
peace.
that desire's not any, yeah.
It's about the end of desire. So I guess what I'm saying is that happiness is the absence of desire. So we desire, which is one other way of saying it is unhappiness, because we're waiting, where is it? And that moment when desire stops, there is a happiness, peace and happiness. So desire is not, in fact, the attainment of an experience or an object or a situation or a relationship. Happiness is our true nature. Our true nature isn't in the business of desiring. Desire is the belief and the feeling that I am a limited body mind and I need to become unlimited. I need to become whole. So I'm seeking wholeness, and I'm seeking wholeness in experiences, in relationships, in sex, in food, in money, in whatever. And I do experience my wholeness when I experience moments of end of desire, of no desire. I win the lottery, or I get the raise, or she tells me she loves me, whatever. There is a sliver of no desire. And at that moment, there is a sliver of happiness. So what was your question? I lost track.
Well, I have another question right now, or I want to bring it closer.
The belly of the mind is always hungry. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, Amna.
So let's say, so there's a thought that says, I want fries. And then there are images. And then there's like a sensation. And like the sensation of, like, I don't know what I would call it desire, right? So can you, like, to use that analogy, like, Can you use that?
So, okay, so we're not talking about hunger, right? We're talking about
No, it's just the desire.
yeah, desiring fries. Now,
Yeah.
so desiring fries it's playful. We play with fries. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Just take a different example.
I just wanted you
happy-
to use that. Yeah, I just want you to use that to bring it closer
okay.
to me.
So in that case, it's too it's too simple. I wouldn't make a big deal of I can't work with this example because it's okay to play with some fries here and there. It's a big deal. I mean, you know what? You're trying to become the perfect body mind. No, it's down. You watch some TV, eat some fries. It's good. It's okay.
Okay, so like the sensation though, like the sensation, like the pull, like the urgency.
It's a nice sensation.
Like the urgency, like I want it now, like, and I need it, or.
Well, hopefully you have it. Hopefully you have it in the kitchen, or you're close enough to the fries, and go get them. There's no big deal about that. Now, okay. I am going about the weight. Now there is a thing about the image. You see, the image of I'll have to look beautiful and look like this and look like that, or else I'm unhappy. You see, so now that is a good one to look at.
Okay, let's look at that one.
Yeah. So here in this case, my happiness depends on an image that has to fit a certain model, a certain model. So I strive to get to that image, not because I feel it's healthy and it's intelligent to be moderate with the body and to treat the body, because the body is in a way, it's in your hands to do with it, to manage it. It's not about celebrating the body, but it's about celebrating the me image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because in that moment, you believe yourself to be the body mind. Your happiness depends on the body mind. So if the body is 95 pounds, you're happy. 97 pounds, you're unhappy. 98 pounds, more unhappy. 100 pounds, oh my God, disaster. 89 pounds, oh great. So your happiness is all over the map. You are overlooking the true happiness. The true happiness is not a body-mind happiness. True happiness, is true happiness. Is a freedom of being. Is not dependent on anything. But in life you can play, In life you can play. You don't, you can enjoy life. Life is for your enjoyment too. It's for your contemplation and also for the celebration, the playfulness. But as long as you take yourself to be this bubble of thoughts and feelings, this personal bubble, this personal self, then you are sort of life and you are apart. You're apart. You are separate from life as a person. And so you're negotiating as two separate things, as you and the world, negotiating your way. You're not experiencing the peace of being. you're attempting to become whole. And you cannot become whole as a person. In other words, as a separate self, you cannot become whole. You only become whole by realizing your wholeness, by realizing the illusion of the separate me, the image, the woman, the person I take myself to be, the images I take myself to be, the feelings I take myself to be, the beliefs I take myself to be, all the downloads about me. You see through them. It doesn't necessarily mean to be free of them, but to be free of their hold. They can still operate, but they don't have dominion over you. You still feel that, you know, relationship with your family, relationship with that you have a certain, there are certain dynamics, but they don't define you. And because they don't define you, you will find that your relationships with the relationship that existed, they're still there, but they change a little bit. The unhappiness from them is removed. Like I remember with my mother, for example, my mother, she had a great power over me for many, many years. You know, there was a psychological thing, you know, the personal self with my mother.
I can't relate to that at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
And at some time, you know, it shifted. I still had the psychological relationship with my mother, but there was a lot of humor. I started playing and joking with her. It became inside of me. There was no longer this dependence that her happiness really mattered to me. No, her happiness didn't matter to me. It wasn't my business. Her happiness was not my business any longer. It's actually God's business. God knows best. You know, what you think happiness is as a limited self is very narrow, because you don't understand happiness until you realize happiness. Happiness takes on all forms. It can take on the form of pain and sorrow.
How?
Pain and sorrow. How?
Yeah.
Because there is a sweetness in sorrow, and in pain, there is a sense of compassion and the sense of a certain sensitivity that goes beyond your personal pain. And a pain that takes on the form of pain in the heart opens us to the pain that is shared in humanity, which is at the core of it, the pain of isolation, the pain of separation. So there is a certain empathy within pain, within sorrow. And pain at the body level can reveal to you, if you come to comprehend it, your freedom from the body. Because pain is at the body level. We cannot comprehend that. Sometimes we cannot comprehend that I am not the body until we experience certain pain in the body and we realize the possibility is there that is not my pain. And that's an understanding about happiness, because happiness is freedom from pain. There can be pain in the body, but happiness is a freedom from the pain in the body. It doesn't mean there isn't pain in the body, but there's freedom, freedom of happiness, freedom of peace.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all. Holger, Richard, Esther, Trish, Amna, George, Zoe, John, Marga, and Malcolm. Lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Magdi.
Magdi.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Oops, where is it?